Hey, this is Rob Leo, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make your own stop motion animation videos using nothing more than Google Slides. So I made a copy of the slideshow that I posted to my blog so I wouldn't screw it up. But I just want to start with the first slide, just a blank slide. I got rid of the text boxes that were on the page, and I did insert image, insert image. I happen to have a picture on Google Drive, but you might have one, on your computer. You might have a link to one. You might have photos. You might just take a picture using the computer's camera. Whatever it happens to be, I did an insert image. And with this image, if you notice that I click on it, you can replace the image. There's some formatting options. If you look at those options, one of the adjustments I made was to increase the transparency. This image started off looking like that. So I just wanted it to be like a watermark in the background. So I think I put it around 75% or so, somewhere around there. And so this is the first thing I put on my slide. And on my next slide, notice my mouse comes over here. It's lit up in yellow in the background. I'm just going to right click on it, and I want it to duplicate the slide. And it puts the exact same copy of a slide right beneath. So on the second slide, which is like this one, I just did insert shape. So insert shape. And I know the callouts have a little star shape. That's the one I kind of like. So I built the shape, and then I used the paint bucket to fill it with color. Do whatever color you want. And that was it. And then I just kind of moved it out of the way so you couldn't see it. And then what I did was duplicate the slide. So imagine that this is the slide that I moved it on. I did a right click, duplicate, and it came in below. Then I just moved the shape a little bit further down, very slightly, with those crosshairs, click and drag. I also started to build a text box. Text box is right here. Just draw the text box on the screen, and you type in it, change the font, change whatever. So for this, I put YOU, capital letters. I chose the font that I wanted to use. I happen to like Droid Sans. I made it bold. I made it, I think, 30-point font. I centered it horizontally, and I also centered it vertically in the text box. And I must have used bigger than 30 points. So let's pretend it's 60. That looks good. And then for the font color, I just grabbed text color and made it like a light gray. And I moved it out of the way. You can see I moved it right over here. So you just drag it and place it where you want. I use that little red line to help me navigate an exact horizontal position. So every time, just like with the star shape, we do the same thing with the text box and just slightly drag it on each successive slide. So I duplicate, once again, I'm going to do a duplicate slide. And on the next one, just keep building it, adjusting ever so slightly, ever so slightly. And when you get down to where you want it, because I wanted the star to come down to the center, you can see I had to do quite a few slides just to get there. And every time I think I drag the text box, I change the color, and I just used the color palette to go a little bit darker shade of gray until that was centered on the page. And you'll see it's centered because, let me grab it here. You'll see like the red horizontal and vertical lines. That means I've centered it exactly in the middle of the thing. If that's not the case, you can right click and you can center on the page horizontally, and right click again, center on page vertically to make sure it's exactly where you want. And as the star came in, I started to change the font color. So I just selected one letter and changed the color to red. Use like a brick red. And then I continued that process. You can see like 2 slides, just a Y, 2 slides, YO, and just kept building it and building it. So it kind of had a little dramatic effect. And I just kept it as that same thing. So once it was all centered, I wanted this to stay like centered on the page a little bit longer to kind of let it like sit there for a minute. So I selected, I'm going to use the shift key. Notice 35 is highlighted. I'm going to use the shift key and go all the way up to 32. And when I duplicate the slides, it's going to make 4 more. So I'll have 8 total. So it's kind of a nice technique. And then where you left off is right below. So while that was happening, I also inserted a Bitmoji. I'm not going to teach you how to do a Bitmoji here, but you can put anything here, just a picture. And I made it really small. And then each time on the next slide, I made it a little bit bigger. I just kind of dragged the corner, made it slightly bigger, and kept doing that. I didn't move it, I just enlarged it. And then ultimately, you can see after a lot of slides, it finally came through to its final resting place, if you will, with the size that I wanted, the position that I wanted, and then I wanted to change things a little bit. So I wanted to put a message here, and notice I left that message 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 slides before I put the next word on the page, and that lasted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Wow, 20. So 10 without text, 20 with. And again, I just copied a whole set. So if I had 10, or if I had 5 or whatever, I selected with the shift key, duplicate the slides with a right click, made 5 more, and then just moved on to the next thing and just very carefully kind of built the presentation till the end. So once I was satisfied with all of that, my last slide, I wanted to be just a static, and notice this goes down pretty far. I just wanted to be one last static message, and I didn't have to repeat here, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So once your slides are arranged, you're going to go to File, and you're going to select Publish to the Web. And by default, usually it's set to 3 seconds. The slides are going to advance every 3 seconds. You can leave it at that. It's really not going to be necessary because we're going to change that. I wanted to start the slideshow as soon as the player loads. I didn't want it to restart because I wanted the last slide to stay put and let that be the final message. So I published it. And Google's like, yeah, sure, okay, we'll do it. This is the link right here. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that into a new window. And watch where the cursor ends up. It's blinking at 3000. And what that means is that the slides are going to automatically advance every 3 seconds. Well, the code behind the scenes for 3 seconds is the number 3000. I don't know how they come up with the code. I just know how to identify it. So because the cursor's there, I'm just going to change this from 3000 to 0090 to 90. And that's going to speed up the rate of the slides advancing to give it the impression that you are animating or doing like a stop motion animation. So I'm just going to press enter on my keyboard and the slideshow should open up. And here it comes. Kind of slowed for a minute there. Here comes you to MVP, and then the message. Remember, that's 15, that's 10. 15, 10, 15. You notice 10 is not much, right? And then ultimately it's going to land at the last slide. It's not going to repeat. It's just a static message, and then it's over. So that's how you do it. That's how the sausage is made. That's how you can animate a Google Slides presentation. It's a great task for students to show what they've learned, and it's a great task for you if you want to show off your skills. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found this useful.